I didn't know what I didn't know. And I didn't know a lot. Getting into real estate at 22 was really funny because I swear I barely knew what a mortgage was. Like barely. Like it's a loan for a house. Something I said was like, if they can do this, I can do this. I want to be good at this. I want to help people. I want to be the best at this. But like once you figure out what you want to do and you can go all in, like when you go all in, you're just like absolutely magical. Like you're bigger than life.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself a favor and give us a follow because I don't want you to have FOMO from all the amazing guests that we're going to be bringing on this year. Without further ado, let's get right into this one. Erica, for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity yet to get to know you, to get to meet you yet, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, I'm obsessed with you. I love you so much. That was amazing. Like seriously, amazing. Okay, so my name's Erica West. I'm a real estate investor, a real estate agent, a lover of all things real estate, wealth, abundance, just like creating the best, most abundant, juicy, amazing life. So I found that through real estate. So I sell real estate, I invest in real estate, and I'm just kind of like a self-help addict that loves to learn about being better, doing better, and living a bigger life. So that's kind of something I'm starting to pivot in more of. But anyways, I've been in real estate since March of 2020, so a couple of years now, and just kind of took off a little bit. I always feel awkward talking about myself, but
I know a little bit
here. The whole like number 2 agent, individual agent in my office, in the top 5% in my region, and I do pretty well as far as real estate sales. I have a couple of investments myself, long term, short term. I've invested in real estate syndications as well. And I just love real estate. I love this community and I love you. And I'm just excited to be here.
Erica, you are amazing. And for anyone who doesn't know, Erica's also not that much older than me. She is 25 and doing amazing things. And although she doesn't want to toot her own horn, I definitely will do. And she's doing some extremely amazing things over on the other side of the coast. But Erica, take us back in the time machine a little bit. What was little Erica like? What were you doing as a child? But was real estate always like a factor in your household? Like, what was it like growing up?
That is hilarious. Yeah. So real estate, Erica back in the day, as my parents would say, I loved to be on camera. I was loud. I will dance, center of attention kind of deal. And that definitely, I mean, I still grew up and I'm still a little bit like that, not gonna lie. But yes, real estate was always part of my life. So my dad is who got me into real estate. He's been a real estate investor since before I was born, and it's still doing so and growing and getting better and building his portfolio. So I grew up, my dad had this apartment complex, and it was like, it was, what do you call it? Like C-grade, or I don't know, whatever. It was run down. Okay. He had an apartment complex, super run down. He bought it on a land contract when he was like 21 years old, from this older lady. He's a person that's had the longest land contracts I've ever heard of in my life, like 25-year land contract. He just paid it off. Anyways, so growing up, we used to hate when my dad would say, we're going to the apartments. It was just called the apartments. And we would go and we would shovel snow and take out the trash and paint the sign. And it would just be like, all right, we're rounding the kids up. We're going to the apartments. I gotta go to the apartments. And so I did grow up with almost this like angry vibe about real estate because I felt like my dad was always working on it himself. My dad still has a really hard time like delegating to other people, getting property managers, stuff like that. But we grew up just always going to the apartments, and my dad had made an effort to always teach us what this was doing for our future.
Yeah, that's amazing. So take us along the journey. Like, what was it like growing up? So as a kid, you're getting driven around to the apartments, like around like, high school, college age, like what were you doing then? Did you leave the real estate stuff? Were you still kind of, forced to drive to the apartments? Like, what was it like navigating the world, not so many years back?
Yeah. So I went in a different direction. So I went to college for psychology and family studies. And my passion was, psychology, mental health, counseling, helping people in that realm. And that was what my degree was in. That's what I graduated with. And I ended up getting into social work as soon as I graduated. It was short-lived. It was really hard. It was really, really hard. For someone that is super connected to people, super empathetic, empathetic's the best word to use, because I would feel everything that those people were going through. And it was so hard. I mean, I would like cross lines. Like I would want to give people money. Like I was just it was too much for me. I would sometimes leave and just drive home in silence and just cry from like a session. And I'd just be like, it's just horrible what people have to deal with. And so flash forward, like I feel like I've found a way to help people and to connect with people and to pour into people in a way to where I'm not completely enmeshed in their personal life and their trauma, right? Like I can help them grow their wealth or their self-development, or give them resources or a coach or connections, and figure out how to help people kind of get out of their situation or feel better about their situation, instead of through this cognitive behavioral therapy and trauma work and stuff like that. That was just too much. And now I get to help people with being like kind of at a distance, but I'm still like the real estate therapist, that's for sure.
No, 100%. And one of those things where it's like the way we usually draw up the game plan to use our talents isn't usually the way it ends up working out. Like me and you known each other for a little while now. And as you know, like I teach social media classes for Pivot. And in there, it's like most people from here back home don't know that I'm teaching social media classes to realtors from all over the place. It's like, it's one of those things that's like, I didn't even know I was going to sign up for that. And it's like an opportunity kind of presented itself and you kind of ran with it. So I want to ask you a little bit, not a segue into the conversation. So during the pandemic is when you got your license. Take us through that time period. What was that like for you? What was it like navigating the world? You're 22 at that point in time? 20? Yeah. What was it like navigating the world at that time and then getting your real estate license at that age? As you know, most realtors are like triple our age. So it's like,
oh yeah.
What was it like taking your classes and getting into real estate? Take us back during the pandemic on top of that.
This is so funny. Okay, one, I didn't even plug where I do real estate. So I do real estate in Southeast Michigan. I'm also, in Southeast Michigan, I have a small team, also an individual agent in San Diego, California. So I do both. Okay. I always forget to say that, but it's fine. Okay. So getting into real estate at 22 was really funny because I swear I barely knew what a mortgage was. Like barely. Like it's a loan for a house. I mean, I guess that's just essentially, but like, no, I had no idea. Like I didn't know what I didn't know. And I didn't know a lot, but what I did know is that I had this strong will to learn. And I was just, I don't know. This sounds bad. Okay. But after I got my license, when I was meeting other realtors and working with other people and going to classes and stuff like that, something I said was like, if they can do this, I can do this. You know, like I want to be good at this. I want to help people. I want to be the best at this. Like it was something that I immediately got really almost addicted to, just like learning and being better and watching myself climb up that list. But let me go back to when I got my license, because it was terrifying. So I remember I'm at the Keller Williams office. My team leader's like, you got to post a picture, like your headshot, and tell everyone you're in real estate. And I'm like, oh my God, I just was so scared. I was scared someone was going to ask me a question I didn't know, or I was like, oh my God, what if they call me? What if they ask me to help them with real estate? Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I posted this picture and I'll never forget this. Okay. My first hater. All right. So I had this kid comment on my post and goes something along the lines of like, you just did 4 years of college and wasted all this money and now you're just going to be a realtor. And I just remember like, oh, it stabbed me in the heart. I was just like, this guy's right. What am I doing? And like, you're so vulnerable at that age. You're just like, what am I doing? Who am I becoming? How do I see myself in 5 years? What do I do with my degree? Do I go back to school? Do I get a master's degree? And to get that, it sunk my ship. But I actually found a screenshot from that the other day, and I put it like side by side, my like number 2 individual agent in my office, and I like sent it to my parents just to hype myself up. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, people will try to tell you you're doing the wrong thing. I'm sure you get that too, John. Like, you do it. People don't get it. But if you just stay in your own lane and do what you're supposed to do, like, you will, I don't know. It's so easy to say don't listen to him, but like, just don't listen to him.
It's one of those things where my last episode that I recorded and dropped before, like during the time we were actually recording this episode, I talked about, it's called Atonement of the Father. And essentially in the hero's journey, to get a little philosophical on you,
let's go.
There's something called the hero's journey. It's by, I believe, Joseph Campbell is his name. And he's pretty much analyzed all the big, great stories in the, Bible and the Quran and all the great myths and fables and, myths and all those great poems, whatever. And he figured out that there's a framework that all these stories went through, and like all the best stories went through. And a part of it, it's like the hero goes on this journey, and there's this person called the Father. And the Father represents the person you hold in highest regard in your life, the ideal in your life. And until your father dies, you can't step into the person you're truly meant to become. And so it's like this person that you hold so great, which is like the opinions and thoughts of others. It's like until that dies off, you can't fully become the person that you're meant to be. And it's something that so many people our age, it's like, it's hard for them to understand. It's like, I feel personally that God has already blessed them all with a life, right? Everyone already has a life. So for people to be telling you what to do with your own, even though they have their life to be, dealing with and figuring out, it's like, for me, it's like the audacity. But then like what makes it even worse is like the audacity because you're not even where I want to be in life. And you think you know better for me than I know for me.
Right.
So it's like so many people to try to tell you like, what you should do. There's one lady, I was at church, right? Yeah, and go. We're having this fellowship Sunday, right? I was at church. This church session is over. We're upstairs eating together, fellowshipping, whatever. And this guy I went to church with for like years. I was talking to him, catching up, and he knows I'm in real estate. And he was like, hey, my mom been trying to get her real estate license. Then I started telling his mom, mind you, his mom is like, she's in her 50s. And we started talking about real estate and how I got my license. And she asked me where I graduated from. And then it went from like, her asking me for advice about how to get into real estate to, you should go back to finish school. And like the only thing in my school, I'm like, yo, you're 50. Asking me for advice about getting your real estate license. I did that last year. And you're 50 trying to get into this. And now because I ain't graduate, you had to tell me about what to do with my life. It's like, there's no one that could ever, I met Gary Keller. Like, there's no one that could ever convince me to go back to school. Like, people don't meet billionaires. I got to meet one without graduating. It's like, why on earth would I go?
And it's just like so old school thinking. I mean, the richest people I know with the most amazing portfolios and amazing lives, like most of them don't do what they were going to be doing. Most of them don't have degrees. Most of them don't even, they don't look the part. They got tattoos. Their hair is flying everywhere. They dress how they want, look how they want, and they're living their best lives. And it's because they don't listen to those people. Like those people that fit that mold, the W-2, the 9-to-5, doing the same thing, which is great. And some of them love their life. That's fine. But fitting that mold, it's like you are just taught that way your whole life. And you are going to become that if you listen to that. So someone once told me, it's the same thing we just said, but they're like, never take advice from someone whose life you don't want. And I kept thinking that when I was told by a lot of people in this area, in my office in Michigan, they were like, are you crazy? Like you have built this huge business. You've like came in here, because AJ was telling me the other day, you came in here and just took us by storm. Like, we had no idea who you were. You were this like young girl on social media. We had no idea. And now you're up at the top of the office. And now you're going to leave? And I'm like, yeah, I feel like there's something bigger out there for me. And I'm going to figure it out. And I'm giving myself the permission to fail if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go. And who is to say it's supposed to go any type of way, right? Like everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen, and it's happening, right?
Yeah. It's one of those things where we had Ryan Holiday. For anyone who doesn't know, he's like the stoicism guy. I just got introduced to this stuff relatively recently. I'm not sure if you know him before Inspire, but one of the things that he reminded me of is called this thing called the law of non-action. And it's pretty much, it's not saying to don't take action or not do anything. What it's saying is like, don't do anything that is not in occurrence, with the thing that's meant to play out. And so it's like, there's like this zone that you get into where you just know what you're supposed to be doing. If you listen to yourself and if you get quiet and still, and you'll be told where you should be guided to, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if you could tap into that, you'll be able to pivot. And so like, for me, getting into real estate, now I'm not even focusing on it at all. And I'm doing all these other things. And now this is popping off with the podcast. It's like, I've been able to grow and open up doors in so many other places. But it's like, had I been so fixated on how I thought things should have played out, nothing at all would have ever played out. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit too. It's like, so you're doing all this and you're still relatively extremely young compared to a lot of the people I had on the show. So it's like, how, not to sub anyone who's on the show that's not in their 20s, but like, there's not too many people at your age doing what you're doing at the level that you're doing it. So it's like, how has it been like socially? How has it been outside of like professional real estate stuff, like just navigating the world while you've been finding all the success?
Ooh, that's a little tough. I am still trying to find my way with that, because I got it. It is hard. Like when you start to feel that success, like and you're up on the charts and you're in the top X% and you're on the top of the list, and people are so excited for you, and people are looking up to you, and people are asking you questions, and people, like James Shaw is asking me to do interviews with him publicly in front of hundreds of thousands of, potentially hundreds of thousands of people. And you feel this pressure to like keep it going. And so sometimes when you're not working, you feel like this pull to like keep producing, keep working, keep making a name for yourself, like keep going. And so that definitely took a little bit of a toll on like the social life, the personal life, the balance in my relationships and stuff like that, because I just felt like I had something to prove and I was in my zone and I wanted to do it. And I still do, but something I've really been working on with my life. She's a life coach, but also a business coach. But we've been working a lot on the life lately because that bleeds into everything. Like that is really important. I mean, I did really well, but I wonder how much better I could have done if I was actually somewhat balanced, leveraged, rested, like taking really, really good care of myself, because I really wasn't, to be honest with you. I hate to say that. But something we've been working on is like this idea of being in my essence, is what she calls it. And that's like being like in my best Erica version of myself. Yeah. And that's vitality, connection, light, joy, fun, beacon, leader. That's what she's named my essence, those exact words. And in order to do that, what we've developed, and it's so simple, but I know your listeners would actually benefit from this, it's called a well-being tracking sheet. Okay. So we monitored my well-being over a period of a couple of months. And like, where is my battery at? Is it full? Is it halfway? Why? What's played into this? And where am I at mentally, physically, spiritually? How am I feeling? How's my relationship? And we monitored how that was going. And then we monitored how my life would go when I was completely rested, played. She likes to call it play all the time, but literally like just being a kid, running around, playing, going to the beach, whatever it is, resting, playing, feeding myself, having fun, laughing. What charges me? So now we have a whole well-being tracking sheet for me. It's composed of 10 different items. Some of them are personal that I won't share, but some of them are like, I need to take a 10-minute or 5-minute break every hour. I need to. That's just like a second away from my screen, a second to walk outside, whatever it is, collect myself, get back together every hour. Because if I don't, I will binge out and go hours and hours and hours on end and push it off and push it off. And to this, I still struggle with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I probably don't do it that much, but that was part of my well-being tracking sheet. Also, taking at least one day off a week. That is really hard as a realtor or as a person in like the entrepreneurial space, because it's like, even that one day off, I could work on my short-term rental, or I could work on my business page, or I could go make social media content or whatever it is. You got to take a day off a week. No alcohol has been a really big thing for me. I still, every once in a while, but like no alcohol. I can't even believe how much I can get done without alcohol and how much better I feel. Like this sober trend right now.
It's the wave.
Have you noticed it?
I've been doing it too. So it's like, I don't know if you noticed too, but at Elevate this past conference in April, I don't know if you know, but I don't think I drank that entire conference. I might have took like a sip. I don't think I drank that entire conference. I've been just like you, I'm also like energy, dancer, fun, live, beacon, whatever. Like I'm also like that person where it's just like, I'm just the life of the party naturally. And it's just something that I've always been. So like for me, it's like my natural energy level is stuff that people have to take energy drinks to reach. It's just me being natural. So like if I do get a little amped up or hype, then it's like I'm way like all the way up here. So it's like for me, I've been doing that this year as well. It's like I wouldn't even like take like a sip or anything like that. Just like I'm just completely exiting it out of my life, just because it's like there's nothing really beneficial from it.
No, it takes away the present moment.
Yeah.
Whether you notice it or not. You're more distracted, you're more numb, or you're more, you're just not completely there. You're not completely present in that conversation or in that moment. And then it's a chain link effect, right? The next day, even if I have like 2 glasses of wine, the next day I'm waking up 5 or 10 minutes later. I'm maybe eating something that's not as good as for me. I'm a little bit dehydrated. Maybe I have a headache or whatever it is. And then that like has everything to do with the aura you give out, the vibrations you're putting out there. Like that is something that dampens that. It's just a fact. I mean, you can feel it. And so something I've been with this well-being tracking sheet is like, how can I keep my vibration as high as possible? And then once you're at that elevated vibration, it's like things in the world that are at that elevated vibration are like finding their way to you. And you're like, oh my God, this just like fell out of the sky. Like I've had some of the coolest instances happen since being, tracking my well-being, being sober, being present in all this stuff.
That's amazing. It's one of those things where like, and for me, I was having an issue because like, although I'm a generally positive person, if you have too many things that you're trying to do at the same time, for me personally, when I was finding that my blessings were just being dispersed amongst many things, so it's like it was watering out my blessings essentially. And then as I started to lock in and focus up, it's like all this stuff started to get funneled into one portion, and then the opportunities that started being presented to me were like a lot bigger and a lot better. And then I started getting opportunities to speak and guest and on podcasts and do this and it's like one of those things. But like last year, I was doing that, and I had like a little opportunity here in this spot, and like a little opportunity there in that spot, and another over there in the other spot, and it's like I was getting the same amount, but because they were so watered down, because they were dispersed across so many things, it was like not really moving the needle as much. And as I said, once I started locking in, it's like all those little blessings I feel kind of funnel into like one big blessing, and then like now the needle's starting to move forward a little bit more, and so
focus.
That too.
It's just like when you go all in on something and you have so many skills that can be used for so many things. Like no wonder you're like a squirrel sometimes. You're like right out. But like once you figure out what you want to do and you can go all in, like when you go all in, you're just like absolutely magical. Like you're bigger than life. Like people people want to buy into whatever you do because they like you, they trust you, and you care about people. I mean, you're just there to help. It's just like what you've done in 2 years? How long have we known each other? A year?
Well, we met. No, it's been like a year and a half. It hasn't been that long. I first started hopping on Pivot like November of 2021, but I was kind of like behind the scenes for a little bit until like almost around like December, January is when like of January of like 2022 when I first started like really making a name for myself a little bit in the Pivot group.
I feel like I met you like in a script practice thing, and I'm like, all right, okay, I like this guy. Like you are very well spoken, very like the amount of skills you have, like you are going to. I'm just so pumped for you. I'm like your number one fan. What you do, what books you write, what places you speak at, how big this podcast gets. Like, I mean, what you've been doing is just so in your lane. Like, you have to feel so much better.
Yeah.
Like, so good.
It feels amazing because, like, I had this thing pretty much set for myself. And similar to you, it's like, I'm that type of person. It's like, for whatever it is, we were gifted with something that not a lot of people have, that drive to just want more. And it's like, it's hard to really describe what that is or where it comes from. But it's like, I can't just be okay with regular, with average, with middle of the road. It's
like overwhelming sensation or need to make your life like
maximize it,
to make it big, to just like make it meaningful, to make it so like people, I don't know, like you can affect so many people in such a positive way. And now I wouldn't say it's easier than ever, but it's more accessible than ever before, right? To be able to touch so many people with what you do. And you're doing it.
And it's one of those things where it's like, when you get that, for me, I didn't always have, I mean, I was always super competitive. Like in gym class back in high school, it's like, if you were on the other team, just like good luck because there's no mercy at all for anyone. And so it's like, I always kind of, and like,
scared you just got this look in your eye. I'm like, oh.
I have this like, this conquer, like if we're in gym, we're playing dodgeball, it's like I'm destroying everybody on the other team. There's nobody is left alive. Right? Take no one prisoner is my mindset. But it's like then I got into like entrepreneurship. I got into entrepreneurship and I was like, oh shoot, I've been an entrepreneur all along. It's just the skills traits, the skill set that I had, I wasn't using it towards business. So then when I got into like a businessy mindset, I was like, oh shoot, this kind of translates over a little bit. And then it's like, you know, I started just going after it. And you mentioned it too, like it feels so good to be in my own lane now. It was like, there's so many nights where it's like, I just question like, what the F am I doing? Like with myself. Cause it's like everyone on the outside, like, John, you're doing amazing. You're going to be so good. You're doing so great. And then like in my present reality behind the scenes, it's like literally everything is crumbling apart. So it's like, there's people who is like, John, you got this. You're doing good. Keep going. And it's like, yo, literally I'm on like tons of credit card debt right now. Like I'm not making no money right now. Everything around me, everyone's getting distant. You know, it's like all these things are playing a role in my present reality. And it's like all these people are like supporting me saying, I got this. It's like, man, it gets tough.
It does.
Yes.
It does. And you know what? I was just talking to my best friend last night and she's a hairdresser. Okay. So kind of entrepreneurial in a sense where she's, she doesn't have a steady income. She's not like a W-2. Like she's got to post on social media, whatever, get clients and stuff. She does really well. But anyways, a hairstylist. Okay. And she looks at me last night and she's like, I've been on Indeed for weeks. I'm like, Lisa, what are you talking about? Like, you are so good at doing hair. She's just like so good at it. She's in her own space. Like she has so many clients. She's done really well for herself. She makes a great income. It's not even that, but she's like, I wake up every day. I have anxiety. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm in the right place. I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be. I don't know if this is the big picture. And I noticed like, this is not new to me. This is not new to you. This is an everyone thing, but entrepreneurs, like, because we have so much like agency, I guess, so much we can do. It's like, it doesn't even feel like it doesn't feel like anything feels right because you're just like, what else can I do? Whereas if you're a nurse, you are a nurse, and that's what you do, and you are comfortable in that, and that's what you. But like in our realm, there are so many different things you can do. It's overwhelming. And you're like, am I doing the right thing? And a lot of entrepreneurs, like you said, had no money. They have no idea what they're doing. They're just hustling. Like that's the start of a beautiful story, my friend.
Yeah, that's why I keep on pushing through. I don't know if you see my post I posted today on Facebook, but I talked about pretty much in the caption I wrote. When I write captions for Facebook, I know that the older audience is watching. The more seasoned audience is watching. So I make sure to write a good story for my caption. Like on IG, I'll keep it nice and short. But like on Facebook, I'll write out a little story in the caption. Yeah. And so it's like in Facebook, I was like, there's one person I was talking to, I forget, but it was very recent. And while they were talking to me, they were talking about like purpose in life. And it's like, in life, I realized that you're pretty much like walking up the steps. And for anyone that's listening, try to visualize this. You're walking up the steps, but the next step you can't see. And if you look over the steps, it's like a bottomless pit. So if you stop and look over the steps, it's like, if I step, I'm going to fall. But until you take that step forward, then the step reveals itself. Just like, unless you keep on stepping, you'll never see the next steps. And so it's like, I just been kind of just stepping forward, not knowing what I'm doing, partially for being partially just ignorant, not ignorant in the fact that like in a bad way, just ignorant in the fact that a lot of the things I do, I don't know like the whole thing. Like, for example, I did my own virtual summit. I didn't know how much work went into doing a virtual summit before I committed to doing so. I was like, oh, this is a good idea. I know some people that will come on and speak, and I know people that will probably come on and watch. But then it ended up flopping, actually, which is funny story. But I didn't know what I signed myself up for. So it's like partially because I'm ignorant, partially because I'm just an action taker. And there's nothing wrong with being ignorant, right? There's a Socrates quote, I love this. I know that I do not know. It's like, I know I don't know everything. But despite that, I'm not going to stop it's not going to stop myself from moving forward because life isn't lived on the fence. And so it's like, I do a lot of things that I don't know, like I'm really signing up for. For example, like real estate, I didn't know about all the stuff and you got to deal with it before I got into podcasting. Oh, no. I didn't know how much work goes into editing videos. It's just a hassle. Like the marketing stuff, I didn't know how much work goes into actually teaching a seminar like that actually helps people, because I still taught my ChatGPT one I had in January.
Yeah.
Like I still get people to this day like, John, I haven't used a single thing you talked about, but you did a great job. Like, how I did a great job and you didn't use it? It's like, that was the whole point of the class, like to use what I talked about. So it's like, I know part of it is not my fault, but it's like, of course I want to design the seminar in a way, because there's something called like the curse of knowledge, right? Once you learn something and you try to explain it to other people who don't learn, you try to explain it in a way that's simple to you, but it's actually complicated to the people. And you forget how complicated it can be because you already understand it. Right. But I don't even know where I was going with that.
Away with one thing, like, for example, like ChatGPT, I had no idea what it was until you spoke about it.
Yeah.
And now for my short-term rental, that I use it all the time to come up with the descriptions and the photo things, the advertisements, stuff like that. And you mentioned a lot of other things on there, how to create a PowerPoint presentation, all this thing. But that one thing has saved me so much time, effort, energy, right? Like all they need to do is take away one thing and then remember that you are like the expert at that you're the person to go to for that. You're also building and establishing credibility within a community. So even if someone doesn't walk away and learn and know every single thing that you taught them, they know who to go to. They know who to follow, right? Yeah. They know that you're accessible and that you are someone that's going to be providing content for them that they're going to be able to learn from. So even if they don't grab it on the first go, because ChatGPT my dad calls it Chat GPT, and I tell him every time it's GPT, but he just like it's taken him weeks to learn what we can learn in 2 seconds just because of the generation we're from. So sometimes you have to take with that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's one of those things where it's like, knowing that, it's like, all right, you mentioned like community. It's like, that's one of the biggest contributors I give like credit to when I talk about my journey, because had I not found that community, I think everything would have been different. Like,
right.
And it's crazy because I'm not even in real estate, and that journey impacted me so much. because without it, I would never started teaching the social media stuff. My game plan, like leading up to real estate before I got my license, I deleted all my social media accounts for like the 9 months leading up to it. So it's like I wasn't even on social media at all because I'm in here. I'm like, man, I'm dropping out of college. I'm about to get into the entrepreneurship thing. Like I'm in personal finance now. I'm reading books. It's like I was locked in. Can't no one tell me nothing. I had my mindset. I'm dropping out of college. I'm gonna figure this out. I started working like 70 hours. I only thing I had time for was showering and food and some sleep. That's it. I wasn't going to no events, no fun, no, hanging out with the guys. I was literally just grinding. And when I wasn't grinding, I was studying for my real estate exam. It's like,
Right.
It was nothing but work. So I didn't have time for social media. And I realized it pretty quickly. It's like, it's just a distraction, honestly. I was never like the most like social media guy. And it wasn't until I was asked to teach about it. I'm like, I never taught a class before. And
I was there. I was at that OG class.
Yeah, it's just like, it was such a nightmare. Like I didn't know how to use MailChimp. I didn't know how to send out email invites. I didn't have Eventbrite. I didn't know how to have people register. So I created like a Google form on the fly, and then I had to get people from the Google form onto the Google Sheets, and then from the Google Sheets onto my MailChimp, and then from the MailChimp I had to still email everybody, but I didn't want to keep on sending the same emails out to the same people. It's like I had to figure out how to send it to the email invite to the people who didn't get it already. And I was like, man, and then on top of that, I still had to create the presentation, right?
Right.
But that was just to get people to sign up, right? I still have to create the whole presentation, but it's like, you just figure this out. Sometimes you got to figure it out.
Well, and what's interesting about this community too, is like, they're not looking for you to be perfect or be an expert at anything. Like they just want you to be one step ahead of them, teaching you or teaching them what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when Ellie brought me on to Early Birds to talk about short-term rentals. I mean, I have one short-term rental. Okay. I've been to 2 short-term rental conferences. I listen to podcasts, read books a little bit, but like, I feel, I watch those people up on stage, like staring up at them, like they're, they're miles and mountains before me. But the thing is when I taught on Early Birds about short-term rentals in the space, I mean, people were like amazed and they were like so interested. They're like, you should teach a class on this. I'd go to a webinar, all of this information. And I mean, I felt like I knew like the bare minimum, but all you have to do is be one step ahead of someone else or or have been where they were. And now you're a little bit ahead of them to teach them to teach them where you are now. And so that's what's funny about this community is they don't care. They're like, hey, you should teach a class on this, pushing us out of our comfort zone. And then something beautiful comes out of it.
100%. And now I want to circle back a little bit too, because you mentioned, how you started succeeding, you went to the top of the charts, and people have been, now it's like you have this constant pressure to keep on going, right? We constantly have this pressure to just keep on doing more, keep on improving. Like we can't stop essentially once we get started. And so I want to ask you, there's something that's called the weight of gold. And if you ask people why they want to, if they're scared of failure, a lot of people will raise their hands. But if you ask people, are they scared to succeed? And a lot more people will raise their hand because there's so much that comes with succeeding, especially succeeding earlier on in your life. I feel like a lot more people are envious. A lot more people have negative emotions towards people that succeed at a younger age. And I had an instance where I was at Elevate and I was talking to somebody and we were just having a one-on-one and he mentioned like, yeah, John, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was envious of you. It's like, how does this young 21-year-old, teaching all these classes come and he's doing something that I could have been doing that had I brought it up sooner. And so it's like, in my head, it was like, I've done everything for that group out of the kindness of my heart and out of just like giving back. And despite that, there's still some people out there. And now it might have been naive of me to think that there wasn't, but like, it still hurts a little bit to know that there's people out there that, once you start getting, and I just started tasting success a little bit, right?
Right.
It's just like, well, how has it been for you now that you started to find your stride a little bit more? Like, how has that been? Have you ever come into situations like that? Like, what does the weight of goal, the weight of success look like to you? Like, how has that affected you?
Yeah. Something I've noticed is, and I'm not like a cynical person at all, but there are people that are waiting for you to fail, or waiting for, like, for example, to a lot of people, a lot of other agents and realtors in my office or throughout in real estate that have seen my success, see me as like, oh, she joined, she got really quick success, because the market was good, or whatever their, convoluted reason for why I was successful. And little did they know, I was just lead generating my butt off and doing anything anyone ever said to do to get successful. I just did it. I didn't even think about it. I just did it. Go door knock, go to open houses, go cold call, go show up at for sale by owners' doorsteps. This little, 22-year-old girl knocking and showing up at a doorstep. Probably not safe, but I did it. Okay. And I had scary conversations with people, and I script practiced every day, and I joined the pivot calls, and I listened to podcasts, and I did everything to do to be good, to be successful, and to compete. And when I look back, it's like, it looks like this overnight success, but it was hard. And I just did whatever it took. And for a lot of people, I hate to say it, I've had like men in my office be like, oh, you're a cute young girl. Who wouldn't want to work with you? I had one guy say this when I first joined. He was like, okay, work with you or work with me. He's an older, man. He's like, who would you rather work with? Right. I mean, obviously. And I'm like,
what was that attitude?
Obviously, why? Like, what do you, because I'm cute? I mean, what? So like, people come up with these reasons, or they'll be like, you're just way whatever. I don't know. Anyways, they come up with all these reasons for why you're successful. And it kind of gets to you too. Like, when I'm continually trying to be successful and it gets hard, it's not like this upward projection of success. Like, it goes up and down in the market, and there are different factors, and life happens, and people pass away in your life, and you have to take time off and everything. And I think when those bad times happen, I look at all these other, I'd kind of dogpile all these other opinions of why I was successful, right? Oh, maybe it's because I'm female, or maybe because it's young, or maybe it's because the market was good, or whatever it was. And so you start to like make up these lies in your head for why you're successful, and not because not thinking I worked really hard, and I'm really well scripted, and I really care about people, and I really know how to connect with people, and I know how to negotiate, and I know what I'm doing. You forget about all of that very easily. And just being in that pressure, I've just been learning and being taught with my coach, like, this permission to fail, this permission to not be the best or not look the best. Like, I went out to California to start a new real estate career, and it's really hard, and I'm struggling. It's a whole new business in a place I've never lived in, and I'm by myself, and I'm still a young realtor with a lot of those projections on me of being young and all these things. And it's like, so what? Just go out there and try. Who are you going to meet? What are you going to run into? What's going to happen? Be smart about what you're doing. Make sure you got some money saved. Make sure you give yourself the time and the permission to fail. And it's not going to be an instance where you're broke or have to go running home or whatever. But just learning that pressure is self-imposed, and I'm going to try to let myself off the hook and do what I need to do to be Erica and be my own version of successful.
Yeah. It reminds me of a quote that I literally heard today with Ryan Holiday, who said, those who suffer before it's necessary suffer more than necessary, right? So it's like, don't let all these different things get to you, right? It's just like, you just gotta, if you're going through a hard time, that's it. But like, there's so many things he said too that we do to make it worse. So it's like, don't add fuel to the fire. And so, Erica, you dropped tons of amazing nuggets today. Where can we find you at? Where can we connect with you at if we want to learn more about what you got going on and all the amazing things you have in store?
Aw, thank you. You can find me on Facebook, just my name, Erica West, but you can find me on social media, Erica Moves Me. And that's it, actually. Where else can they find me? Anyone can find me if they need help with real estate. I will be putting out a short-term rental, some sort of content on short-term rentals, a workshop, a webinar, something like that for the people. And I do plan on, creating more content and being more like John. So watch out.
Yeah. And so now it's time for our famous 5 questions, the way we end every single podcast. So I'm going to come out swinging. So question number 1, what is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
Oh my God. Are you serious? You didn't prepare me for this. Okay. The most impactful, I guess, something, I don't know if this is the most impactful thing in my life right now, but something that I have been really, really focused on lately is to be following what feels good. And I know that sounds like really simple, but like I mean that in the most genuine way. And I've been starting to figure out that I used to do what I thought I was supposed to do all the time. And sometimes it would hurt myself. And now I'm starting to realize, how can I come from this like place of like such love and joy and abundance in my life to where like I am just I am just a beacon and a light, and everything around me is working out for me, right? I'm just moving towards what feels good. I'm not going to work with clients that are dragging me down. I'm not going to do things that are and this is not to be confused with not being disciplined, because there are going to be things that you don't want to do, but just like trying to figure out what feels good in your life and moving more towards that, because that will always present you with things that are more in alignment with who you are, I guess.
What is the most admirable trait a person can have?
I just think like charisma. I just love this idea of charm, charisma, connection, like that person that walks in that's not like cocky, but they're confident. And you're like, ooh, I want to be in their space. I want to know what they're about.
If you had to change someone's life with one book, which book do you recommend?
I really love the book. It's called You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. I think it is. Sincero. I think it is. But yeah, it's an amazing, fun read, really good book.
What is the legacy that you're trying to leave behind?
That's really interesting. I don't know. That is something that is just still TB determined.
TBD.
Yeah, TBD. I was gonna say TBH. I'm like, no, I'm
it's to be honest,
much of a Gen Z right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, my goal, and as of right now, my goal is to help as many families as possible in real estate. Help them build wealth. Help them understand how real estate could help them build wealth for them and their family. Use the wealth or the income from that to purchase real estate, build myself a portfolio, teach people how I do it. And honestly, like, I just want to be able to spend a lot of time with my kids and family. Like, I want to be that person that is able to teach and empower and to help lead a community, but then like knows the balance and can spend time with their kids. Like, that's what I want right now.
And for anyone that wants to embark on their walk to wealth today, what is their first step you recommend they take?
I would say a first really easy step would be a podcast. Find a good podcast that like obviously yours, Bigger Pockets, even like Ed Milet, like if you need some sort of like, personal development, right? But like find something. I think podcasts, just because it's easy, you can listen in the car, you can listen to at the gym, working out, etc. It's not a book. People don't, a lot of people don't finish books, but it's something that's easy to listen to that'll start to get you excited and start to be like subconsciously getting into your head and soaking in. That is an easy first step. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take a lot of time. You can do it while you're doing something else. That's what I would do personally.
Erica, I'm so glad we were able to hop on. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation, and I'm definitely going to be bringing you on in the future. So be on the lookout. You're definitely going to have to come back on next year and the year after that. And I'm excited to see where your journey takes out, because you have a ton of amazing stuff in store. So I'm excited to see you grow. I'm one of your biggest fans as well, and we're just going to keep on rising together.
Thanks, brother. I'm so proud of you. You're doing amazing. I love this. Thanks for having me on.